not, then we'll go on with our agenda. Next is the Director of Finance and Operations report. First thing is your monthly report. Tony?
Thank you. This monthly report through January 2012 represents a budgetary surplus of approximately $86,000, which is a $3.9 million fund balance, or 9.3% of your budget at the end of the year. There's a surplus, anticipated surplus in intergovernmental revenue of about $52,000. This includes $22,000 from the video grant that we've spoken of before, and also includes $24,000 from the state's new revenue sharing program, which when it was originally created was supposed to help offset the cut in the manufacturer's reimbursement that Betsy spoke of earlier. At least, and it does for us. It's pretty close. In our charge for services, there's a anticipated surplus of about $45,000, primarily coming from conveyance fees and building permit fees, 30 and 20. 30 for building permit, 20,000 for conveyance. There's a possible shortfall in recreation fees of about 20,000. So those are the three big swings in our charge for service accounts that impact that figure. In expenditures, we have a few things going on. There are a few departments where we have some FEMA reimbursements to apply, and those we met actually today, and we're hopeful to have our FEMA. We finalized our FEMA application today for Irene, and so that'll go through its process, and we hope to have that back by probably, she said about a couple months.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one, the hurricane.
What was the other one?
And it was
Alfred, okay.
Our submitted costs were over $500,000.
Wow.
Nice cover.
Wow.
So that includes equipment usage, including the fire department equipment. That was a big one, where a lot of the reimbursements were generated from.
And the reimbursement will be dollar for dollar?
I think it's 75%. 25% I think is left at the discretion of the state or something, but I don't think we're getting that 25%. I think it's just 75% is the part we would be reimbursed. So they have to review all the figures, and so we're hopeful. So now, and today was also the kickoff of the application for Storm Alfred. So there's sort of talking two applications at once, but so we'll begin that process. And so those figures aren't sort of impacted here in this analysis. This is just over and above that. We do have the Country Club of Woodbridge, which we started to accumulate costs on also electricity and telephone, which we may have a transfer next month for some of those costs as we start to, some of those bills are a month out, so by the time we get those in and figure out how much we're going to need, we'll address that probably next month.
Okay, any questions, comments? The next item is tax refunds. And we have tax refunds in the amount of $30,721.05. $28,507.66 is for real estate, and the balance $2,213.39 are for motor vehicle refunds. So I entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a quick question, why is it so much more this month?
For the real estate, it happens often when taxes are paid twice. If there's a
After the January 31st.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is line item transfer number 1112-19 in the amount of $1,500.
These are for hearing notices for Town Planning and Zoning Commission. They just it's based on their volume of just needed some extra funds.
Okay, so it's a transfer.
So transfer with the right from within one line to the other.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-19.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is line item transfer number 1112-20 in the amount of $3,000.
This is the for the police department. There's a memo attached from Deputy Chief Stewart, which indicates the transfer into the repair and maintenance line for their vehicle parts line to cover some repairs that they've had that have sent their line over budget in their maintenance of their vehicles.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-20.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is line item transfer number 1112-21, $10,800.
This is a transfer, a line item transfer from the Country Club of Woodbridge account into the capital account for the replacement of the removal and replacement of all the shingles on the maintenance garage roof. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, but it's in some really bad shape, and there are certain parts that are rotting through, and the water actually goes through the roof, and this will replace that in addition to any damaged or rotted sheeting, fascia, soffits, or molding. So there are some funds remaining from the kitchen roof replacement, which this transfer will supplement to help to pay for the replacement of the roof.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-21.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is award of bid for replacement of the center exterior doors.
The town had received a federal energy conservation grant, and this is second of 3 projects. First project was putting thermostatic controls in a lot of the rooms over at the center building, which has already been accomplished. Second project is to replace the 2 doors at either end of the building where you enter with new doorway, new doors and new insulated glass and thermal brakes and that sort of stuff to really help to, there's a lot of energy is lost through those 2 doors. So we went out to bid for that, and as you can see the rather large swing in bid prices here. We've done some thorough analysis of both the contractor and the requirements of the grant, and Binswanger Glass has done this for some other towns for this grant and passed all of our reference checks.
What does that mean with exception?
Yeah, I was gonna ask this, it's something in their bid?
Right, it's in
And
the
I
bid.
was gonna ask if that impacts,
Does that impact the
right.
the swing?
Yeah, it did not impact our particular grant or our bids. So
Okay.
we were able to compare them apples to apples.
Okay, does it affect the price?
No, does
Okay.
not, no,
Okay.
does not.
And this is the low bidder.
Correct.
That's a little
Yeah,
bitter.
It's unfortunate, we like to give these to Woodbridge
I know.
folks, but that was clearly,
It's clear.
there's, what, an $8,000 difference or something.
Right.
We can't,
The bid is
We can't match.
$11,633.
$33,
right,
That's the
versus
lowest bid.
19,
Right.
and you just can't do it.
Tony, it's the doors on either side. but-
Correct, both. It's not the one in the center, just the 2 on each side.
Not the front door.
Not
just
the front
center.
door.
The front door seems to be fine, or doesn't get used that much.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really use, and plus this was what we had funding for. Those were the more severe.
Good.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to award the bid to Binswanger Glass in the amount of $11,633 for replacement of the outside 2 doorways at the center.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously.
The third project on this, which will probably come next month maybe, is to the thermal envelope of the building, window work, that sort of thing. So
As a separate
a
thing.
separate project, yeah.
I
So I
thought we
mentioned
did some of that, no?
For the center building?
Yeah, for the center building, yeah. That's the
Okay.
3rd project in the grant.
Okay.
So it's grant work.
Yeah, it's federal grant money.
Okay, the next item is award of bid to Luke's Engineering for access road improvement project at the Beecher Road School.
This is actually an addendum to a previous, we had gone off for an RFP several years back, and that was to improve the access road and improvements to Beecher South, which we did. And That was done several years ago. And
New sidewalk and that sort of
right,
thing.
new traffic circle was realigned, and the
safety parking thing for the kids
right,
to
where you
exit
drop
out
off.
of this.
That was all done. And Luke's was the firm that won the RFP process. So this is the second phase of that, and the state it was a little slow in getting us the approvals for this, so that's why it's taken us a few extra years to get this accomplished. But this is the second phase, so this is more of an addendum to that particular process. And you'll see it's got a timeline there, and this is for, you can see the survey the tasks that will be accomplished at Beecher North.
North School parking lot and drop-off area.
Right. And the plan is we're working closely with, although it's a town grant, and it's a town had applied for it, it was a steep grant. We're working closely with Beecher and with the facilities committee to make sure that their needs are addressed in this process.
And do I remember correctly, this is the same firm that did the Beecher South?
Correct.
And they did such a nice job.
Right.
What was that total grant that we awarded?
200,000.
And this part of it is 19,200, right?
Right.
Okay.
Design features.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So I entertain a motion to award the bid to Luke's Engineering as set forth in their letter of January 23, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next item is authority to lock in fuel, oil, gas prices.
Yes, every year we go out to bid for fuel, oil, gas, and diesel. And this year we're a little late on it. We usually do it in December. However, Amity and Woodbridge have somewhat of a significant change in our bid next year if in fact the natural gas line happens, because we'll have several buildings that we will not have heating oil for. And so we all met and decided that we would wait to see if this sort of was something that may happen. And so what we've decided to do, and Amity in particular has also decided to do this, is to just do gas and diesel and just oil for the buildings that are not going to be served with gas. In our case, it would be probably the Public Works building until that becomes further along, and the Country Club. Those are the two major ones. And then if
The school.
the school, right? Beecher, of course, would use it for the school. And then if in fact oil was needed, we can always either go back out to bid for the other buildings or use the state bid has an actual bid for oil. And it's a price over market, so it fluctuates every day. So that's also an option, and I think that's what Amity is probably going to do.
So what you're asking is for the board to give you the authority to lock in.
To lock in, and the reason why we do the authority to lock in is because we have to award the fuel prices an hour after or less after we get the bids in. So it's not practical for us to actually come back to the board as the prices all change.
Can't just call us all.
So how we've accomplished this in the past was you've allowed me the authority to lock in the price.
That's
what
work.
this is.
I make a motion to that effect.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
Is this still part of the larger consortium?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ansonia and,
Dirt.
Right.
and does that reduction in volume make a significant difference?
It probably won't. That's a good question. Oftentimes it's timing rather than volume that dictates the price, but it may. It may.
Okay, any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is a bid waiver for a fuel pump for the Public Works Department, GSA contract.
The fuel pump, this is just a pedestal, the pumping system is in significant disrepair and is in severe need of replacement. It is no longer manufactured and parts are no longer available, and the software is no longer supported It's not even a Windows version, actually, it's an older version. So we were trying to wait until this project moved along, but I think Warren's a little concerned that we may have a problem at some point in the near future. So we've done a lot of research on this, and there's actually a General Services Administration contract, which is a federal contract as opposed to state, which is somewhat unusual for us to use, but it's for Fuel Master, which is used at all Department of Defense buildings, and the state DOT uses it also, and several towns use it. So we've called them, and so the request is for the bid waiver to use Fuel Master, which is would replace the pedestal unit and the card readers that are used for buses and police, public works, all town vehicles. And there's a budget for it. I mean, it was approved in the budget process for equipment.
Is the window about to close to get in on this federal?
No, this is good through, did I give you the new pricing schedule? I think it's good through 2000 and, they just renewed it.
Okay, so there's no deadline pressure there.
No.
Does Warren think this is about to fail? Is that?
Well, I think he just wants to, you know, if it does fail, then we would have a problem
Sure.
of tracking the fuel use. That doesn't mean to say that we can't wait in a few more months and see what happens. It's certainly an option. It's about 10 years old.
Well, he says it's in need of, or you say it's in need of replacement, so.
Right.
So, if it's in need
It
of
is.
replacement.
It is.
I'd rather be
Okay.
proactive.
It is.
And,
It's just used by so many fire
Yeah.
department, police.
Right.
They'd have a problem with it. You know.
So I'd entertain a motion then to approve a bid waiver for a fuel dispensing system for the pumps in the public works and proceed through the federal government, the General Service Administration.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mark, are you here for something specific?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Just waiting on farmers.
Yeah, okay.
The farmers.
Farm lease,
Yeah.
okay. The next item then is the town council's report.
I just have one other.
I'm sorry, other, excuse
Yep.
me, yep.
We just got from CCM the governor's proposed midterm budget impact on Woodbridge.
You know what I have?
Right, there you go. This is
There's the whole thing, you can read it.
And the difference between 2012 and 2013 is at a positive $1,106.
We don't go down.
So we don't go down and we don't go up.
Okay.
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 That's the other?
That's it.
Good, okay.
Yep.
Town council's report. First
Yes.
is the request to abandon right-of-way Country Club Drive to Overhill.
We have two requests. You remember this came before the Board of Selectmen several months ago, and we voted to refer it pursuant to Section 8-24, the Planning and Zoning Commission. They reviewed both of these requests. As you can see by Mr. Lipson's letter to the board, there is one issue with regard to Mr. Lender's property on Overhill Road. It shouldn't be a difficult problem to solve. Mr. Lender's willing to give an easement if it's necessary to the owner in the rear of his house so that he can have unrestricted access. To abandon a piece of property in the town, it has to comply with state statute. The state statute said if the Board of Selectmen approves the abandonment of any piece of property, it must be approved by either a special town meeting or a regular town meeting of the town. So while you can refer it to a special town meeting or a regular town meeting, the ultimate decision maker on the abandonment is the town meeting. So if the board is so inclined to approve these requests, I would suggest that it be on the agenda for the regular town meeting in May, rather than have to call a special town meeting.
What's the size of the property?
Which piece?
Either piece. I mean, we're not talking about big pieces of property.
We had the Lender piece is fairly, not really big. It's a narrow piece that goes alongside his property, right? It's wide, I don't,
It's a 50-foot wide
Okay.
right of way,
Right.
running from Country Club, I believe, Oak Hollow,
Cross
right,
Hollow.
Cross Hollow,
Right.
and I think it also goes through Oak Hill.
yes, I think it does. And we had maps, you had the maps
Yeah,
at the
we
last,
had maps
when you
in one of the-
referred it, so you all saw it. We don't have the maps here for you today, but if you, my suggestion on the lender piece is to defer the action because there is that issue with the possible easement. And it doesn't really make that much difference because it can't be approved until May anyway, so we'll have enough time, and when we come back with that, we'll have give you the map again so you can actually see what you're approving. With regard to the fairgrounds, it's a little more straightforward and simple. It doesn't affect any of those landowners.
So Jerry, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Just to go back to this.
Lender?
That easement, yes. Would that be entered onto a deed then?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
The property owner, the lender, Mr. Murray Lender would have to give an easement to the property owner in
But
the
then, I
back,
mean,
which he's indicated he would be happy to do.
Oh, I understand that, but it would be memorialized
Yes,
on the deed. Thank
has to
you.
be recorded in the land records.
Thank you.
So with regard to fairgrounds, again, that cannot be accomplished completely until until the annual town meeting acts on it in May. That is a little bit more simple. It doesn't affect any abutting property owners. And as you can see by Mr. Lipson's letter, they looked at it and there is really no conditions on their request. So again, you had the map of this piece of property the last time, and I think we all thought it was pretty straightforward. So if the board is so inclined, you can approve the request and we can put it on the agenda in May.
So I entertain a motion to approve the proposed abandonment of the town right-of-way in regard to the Murray Lender property and as to the property at
I
10.
thought we were gonna wait.
defer until we
Right.
talk about the easement.
No, subject to.
Okay, subject to.
Okay.
Good.
Subject to your review,
Right.
and also the property at 10 Fairgrounds Road. Refer that to the annual town meeting to be held on the third
So
Monday of
moved.
May. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just
Yeah,
a
actually-
quick-
yeah.
we have to invite Betsy back because the fairgrounds piece goes on the grand list. It adds to the grand list.
It will. You know, each property owner gains the center of the piece of property that's abandoned, and that it does become taxable.
I was just curious how much.
$1,000.
What
I
a
don't think it's going to break the bank, though.
Yeah.
Just curious what value is on that. Do you have any idea the value?
I don't know. I didn't look at it. It's negligible.
Is it?
Yeah, really
Yeah.
negligible. A few $100 maybe.
Okay,
Okay, any further discussion?
I have just one question. Who moved and seconded that?
I did.
I moved,
You moved and you seconded.
I seconded it.
yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is a report, Freedom of Information, Michael Helfenbein versus the Conservation Commission.
As you can see, we've been working on this for quite a while, and as you can see in the packet, Mr. Helfenbein did withdraw his complaint against the Woodbridge Conservation Commission, so that matter is completely closed and over with. There remains one complaint still pending, which again we are continuing to have discussions about. And hopefully, there was two complaints. Mr. Helfenbein filed a complaint against the Conservation Commission for what he considered to be a violation of FOI for a walk the commission took on the alleged property. The other complaint had to do with a meeting of the Macero Farm Board of Directors, I believe, and there were a couple of people, a couple of Conservation Commission members who were on the Board of Directors of Macero, and the complaint is that those individuals had improper discussions which should have been at a noticed meeting, and they had these discussions informally at the Macero board meeting, which should have been a meeting.
Okay.
So that's still pending, and hopefully that can be resolved shortly.
I've heard another class.
That has not been scheduled by Freedom of Information for any hearing, so that is sort of not percolated to the top of their calendar. The other case was actually scheduled for a formal hearing, and Mr. Helfenbein saw fit to withdraw that complaint.
Because they had their meeting, right? because they had the.
Yes, and we did, and the Freedom of Information Commission made asked the
Presentation.
Conservation Commission to have some training, and the person came down from FOI, spent about an hour with them, and had a pretty good session, I think.
So the other
I
one, they
attend-
could call a hearing on the second.
They could have a hearing on the second one if Mr. Yes, they will if Michael Helfenbein doesn't withdraw the complaint. But we're still
Any
talking.
other questions? Okay. Next item is a report on Judy Reddick versus the town of Woodbridge et al.
That is a case that involves a personal injury that Ms. Reddick, who is the animal control officer for the town back in
The district.
District Animal Control back in 2006. Ed, is that the date?
No, sooner than that, or further back.
But this incident happened in 2006, I think.
I think you're right.
I think it happened. I think there was Ms. Reddick was the ACO. She fell, had some injuries and some significant consequences to those injuries. There's a lawsuit pending against the district, and there was a freedom of
and the town. Yeah.
both. And there was a freedom of the case. The town is being represented by the town's insurance company and also the insurance company for the district. So we don't have, happily we have insurance, so it's not going to have any direct financial impact on the town. There was a workers' compensation settlement, and their case continues for personal injuries that Ms. Reddick said she suffered as a result of some negligence. The case was won by the town on a summary judgment motion. The district won, but the plaintiff appealed, and the case is now in the Supreme Court of Connecticut. Ms. Reddick's lawyer made a request to the town for certain documents, an FOI request, and that's the basis that we're working through that now, and we've been talking to the town's lawyer, the guy who represents the insurance company, and we're working out something with plaintiff's attorney to get him the documents, whatever we have.
Who are you seeing as our defense attorney?
It's
Mike
Oleyer, Oleyer, and he's at Halloran and Sage.
Howden Ludor.
Howden Ludorf, right, in Hartford. You're right.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So we're really passengers in that case. We just, whenever they ask us something, we comply, but they're taking the lead. Soundview.
Yep.
If you recall, the Board of Selectmen authorized the town to enter as intervenor status in that case. We did. We were granted intervenor status. Orange also entered and was granted intervenor status. We filed a brief in opposition to the request for a declaratory judgment by Soundview. We won. All the towns won, and this was a very favorable result. The net effect means that we will be able to get the system will be able to continue to receive $100,000 in funding to continue our public access program. So it was a good decision. That's that one.
And then the Woodbridge Conservation Commission resolution related to the Country Club of Woodbridge. You heard Maria Kane speak about the minutes that are in your packet. So, if there's anything more to say about that?
I don't have anything more to say about that. Okay.
And then the next item is an update on 100 Ford Road.
This involves a property in Woodbridge that stored some unregistered motor vehicles and a camper, I think, or campers. Prior counsel to me filed a complaint against the homeowner to remove those pieces of personal property. The court sided with the town of Woodbridge. We got a judgment against the homeowner. The homeowner, for a period of time, complied with the judgment and removed, or at least hid from view,
Moved them around the property.
The objectionable items. They're back, and counsel now has filed this motion for contempt.
But I think since then, they've been removed. It's all
Okay.
right up there, and there's been an improvement.
They didn't buy the house.
So they're screened.
There's maybe something behind it, but a lot of things have been removed. I mean, there's been some improvement there. But.
So that's it on that case.
Okay. And then there's there's this letter of February 6, 2012 from Michael Leone. who, that's not Eden Weiss.
Yeah, I PDF all this stuff to you.
There's another letter about a foreclosure action. Well, that's the letter I'm referring to. The foreclosure action on the same property. There was a hearing on that on February 6th, and the court entered a strict foreclosure. And we have a lien on that property for, not for taxes, but for services rendered by the zoning enforcement office in an amount of about $10,000, I think. But in view of the fact that there's no equity in the property, our interest will be foreclosed out. But the bank, unless the owner of the property files a motion to reopen, the bank will become the owner of the property.
What property is it?
It's located at 100 Ford Road, up near the Ride and Gun Club, just beyond that.
It was the same property.
Right.
Same property.
Same property that,
Yeah.
so, all right. Okay.
You do.
The next item on our agenda is farm leases for the 2010 growing season. Mr. Santoro is here, waiting patiently for this. So Jerry,
I'm copying Sarah's letter because I don't know what happened to the PDFs that went out yesterday.
okay.
They're in cyberspace somewhere, don't worry about it.
Schooling.
I have a copy of that. Okay.
We've got an in that we don't.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know.
The mailbox here.
All right. That's great. Okay.
Pass those.
So, all right. So Jerry, do you want to just, all of these people have responded to the ad in the paper?
Yes, and everyone were leased last year, except we have, one of the leases last year was Peter Vera, who lives in town but has his business in Bethany. But his farms are in Bethany. And he did not request any use this year, any lease this year. We did get a request from a Robin and Chip Norton that are also interested in leasing fields. And I don't know if the board wants to consider, they live in Bethany, they have their farm in Bethany, they have a handwritten letter in here. I don't know if the board wants to consider leasing one of the fields on the Eldersley property to them. The one that was leased last year to Peter Virad.
Is that the only one that we don't have a match for?
Yes.
Okay.
Keith Arnold would like to lease all three of those fields again as he had in the past. Last year we divided them.
Among whom? Between, or among whom?
Between,
Keith and Peter.
between Peter and Keith.
So
Just the Eldersley fields.
Keith said Peter never hayed the field that
Yes,
he
and-
leased, so,
That's correct.
And so
so
did
Keith
this,
ended up
Didn't-
haying all three,
Never did.
correct? Okay,
and that's what
okay,
this Robin Norton also said. The field hadn't been hayed.
okay.
Which field?
There's three fields on
Eldersley.
Heck Road, the Eldersley property, and one of them was not hayed last year. I think Keith finally went out and hayed
Right.
it.
That's what Mark
Saw
said, right?
happening,
Keith
because
did
if
it?
you don't hay those fields.
Keith ended up haying
It
it.
was never hayed by him.
Oh, no one.
No, Keith hayed the two he was supposed to.
Yes, Keith hayed his two.
Mhm.
The other one did not get hayed.
Okay.
So does Keith want to do all three of them?
He would like to do all three.
Okay, he's a
of them.
Woodbridge resident?
He is a
Yes.
Woodbridge
Okay.
resident.
Okay.
Make a motion?
Yeah, so why don't we just go through this then? Jerry's prepared a list of town of Woodbridge farmland use for at least 2012. I've got that in front of you. And these are all Woodbridge residents here. So do we want to approve that list?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mark, you're on that list.
Thank you. Were the special exemptions attached to that piece of property? I think my lease goes to the end of December where the other one's terminating.
Yeah, and yours is a little bit special because it's the Alleged property.
Yeah.
All the alleged properties. So we'll have to take a look at yours and.
You'll call me on it?
I will call you on it.
Same like we did last year?
Yes, it's just the way we did last time, and it goes to the, yours does go to the end of December.
Okay. So I'll wait to hear from you.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the town clerk's report, and I entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of that.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next are our minutes, and we have minutes for our regular meeting of October 12, 2011. And I entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
A little minor thing, but I'll tell Jerry about it. You want me to, or do you want me to just do it now?
Why don't you just tell them?
Okay,
Yeah.
page 7, sorry. Under Director of Finance and Operations, whoops, okey dokey.
Uh-huh.
Director of Finance and Operations report, second paragraph. Most revenues are close to budget rather than closed. I don't want to close the budget to anything. That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yep.
So I entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the first selectmen's report. And since we last met, I appeared on January 17 at WYBC-FM in Milford for a taping for Black History Month, and I did an introduction for, I guess, some music that we played by Lena Horne. So it was an interesting experience. On January 19, Jerry Weiner, Tony, and myself met with Attorney John Nuff and Steve Wise, who was a principal of the Woodbridge Estates, and we talked about that application, and were informed that they have no present plans to develop the Woodbridge Estates as approved. They will be maybe considering some modifications of the approval, and if they do that, then they would have to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission to accomplish that. On January 22nd, I attended a film at the Jewish Community Center sponsored by the Massaro Farm entitled Journey of the Universe, which is based on a book by Woodbridge resident Mary Evelyn Tucker. There were over 100 people in attendance, and it was a fundraising for the Massaro Farm. On January 30th, I met with First Selectman Jim Zioli and Derry Gorski and Jackie Jacoby, who was the consultant to hire a new superintendent at Amity to replace John Brady. And we reviewed with her the qualities that we thought she should look for in a new superintendent, and most importantly, to speak to John Brady to find out how to be a successful superintendent. And I received an email, which I think was emailed to you today, which is in the form of an email from Bill Blake, who's the chairman of the Amity Board of Education. And enclosed in his email is a letter from Robert Kennedy, who is the theater director at the Amity High School. And in a nutshell, they would like to propose that the name of the Amity High School auditorium be named the John J. Brady Center for the Performing Arts. And they set forth all the reasons why that should be done, all of which I agree with. And so I bring that to your attention and seek your input if you feel as though that's a good idea. I myself do, so anyways.
These have to be done by all
three towns?
All 3 towns, correct?
Well, they're looking for that input. It's
Okay.
really
Yeah.
the Amity Board of Education that does it. But
Right, okay, they just want our...
because of some other naming concerns
So do
they
you
had
need a-
recently, I think they're looking out to make sure that everybody's in favor of this.
Okay. Do you need a
So,
motion?
I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think he's done a great job for the community, for the school. My only issue would be, again, the whole naming. I don't know if, I wouldn't think that there would have been any other person who would have been brought up or nominated for this particular honor.
You mean the whole thing that happened with the athletic fields and there was...
Right.
some
I mean, I haven't heard anything over
controversy
the years of
It was already
naming
named
the
and then
auditorium
but nobody
for
knew
that.
it was named, so something
Yeah.
happened, right?
No, I don't
They worked that out, right?
They did.
They
work
did
it
work
out.
it out.
They
It's
did
already
work-
been
they did
done.
work it
Yep.
out. Yeah, they
So
did.
no, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's particularly, I think it's a very specific honor because in my experience on the Amity Board of Education, Dr. Brady was unbelievably supportive of and proud of the arts efforts that had been made during his tenure. Because the auditorium, I mean, he shepherded it in a lot of different ways, and I think it's a fabulous idea. And if I go to the naming ceremony, you can be guaranteed I will cry. Because it's really very touching.
It's good.
Okay, any further comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I say aye twice? Aye, aye?
Good.
Okay.
7 to nothing. All right. Also on January 30th, I attended a meeting of the New Haven Land Trust at the Mitchell Library in New Haven concerning the status of the plans for the removal of the Pond Lily Dam. And as you know, Malone and McBroom have been instrumental in drawing up some of those preliminary plans. And the preliminary design has been completed, and there's now an application for funding with the Connecticut Fund for the Environment to pay for the final plans, completion of the final plans, and then that will require an application by the New Haven Land Trust to get a number of permits to remove the dam from both, not only the state DEP but the Army Corps of Engineers. So that project is ongoing, and we just got a preliminary report from Malone and McBroom, and I think we should invite a representative of them or the Connecticut Fund for the Environment to give us an update on where this all stands. It was a very interesting presentation at the Mitchell Library. On February 6th, I met with Mary Ellen and Tony with representatives of the Visiting Nurse Association, and they reviewed the services that they have to offer to citizens of Woodbridge, and we've invited them for our March 6th meeting to make a presentation. Last night, Themis Claridis and Joe Crisco had Woodbridge office hours, if you will, for Woodbridge residents. About 10 people showed up, and they had a discussion of a number of items of interest. The opening day for the Bethwood Baseball League is April 28th at 10 a.m. at the Center Green, and they will honor the late Eric Soufrine, who's a former member of the Bethwood, or I guess Woodbridge Fathers Baseball League then, and a former umpire. The applications are being received for the First Selectmen's Youth Award, and any Woodbridge youth 18 or under who is in school and who either individually or as a part of a group has demonstrated actions to improve Woodbridge or assist Woodbridge residents is eligible to be nominated for this award. And they can be nominated by the principal, teachers, fellow students, neighbors, group leaders, clergy, and volunteers, but not by parents. And that form is available on the woodbridgect.org website or from Nancy Fund, and it must be submitted by March 15th. Greg had sent me an email about a week or so ago raising suggestions about exploring the future use of the Country Club of Woodbridge, and I think that's a good suggestion. And what I thought we would do once we finalize our agreement with the management company to run the Country Club of Woodbridge, that we do that, we talk about that. And I thought that initially what we should do is invite the land use committees, i.e. the Conservation Commission, publicly owned properties, to have a joint meeting with us to get their view on it, and then from there we can go forward with maybe more public discussion about that. Tony and I have come up with a number of options for that use of that property, which we can talk about maybe at our meeting in March. And then finally, the Country Club of Woodbridge Commissions had 6 meetings since they were approved by this board. They met on January 13, 18, 20, 23, 27, and February 1st. They interviewed all 5 of the applicants to manage the Country Club of Woodbridge. And at their February 1st meeting, they voted to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that Billy Casper Goff of Vienna, Virginia be selected for the management of the Country Club of Woodbridge pending contract negotiations. Those negotiations are ongoing, and Jerry may comment on those, but in any event, Billy Casper Golf runs 3 golf courses in Connecticut: Lyman Orchards in Wallingford, Oxford Greens in Oxford, and Winterberry Hills in Bloomfield. Jerry, I know, has been involved with these negotiations. I believe the commission will meet again on Monday to approve a draft contract to be recommended to our board. And then the plan is for us to meet on February 15th. Representatives of Billy Casper Golf will be here. They can be interviewed. We'll go over the proposed agreement. You can ask any question. We hope to have that agreement to you as soon as it's finalized. And so Jerry, you want to comment on it?
Wouldn't make any sense to review what we had previously because it's not going to look nothing like that.
Nothing like that. They have a form agreement that they use, which I had some discussions with them today, and they were 2 hours worth. They were very, very flexible in making the suggestions that we had. We have a little bit more to do, but hopefully by tomorrow or the latest Friday, that part of it will be completed. Tony has asked the members of the Golf Commission to make their comments on what they think the agreement should, whether they have any changes for the draft agreement that Casper gave us. So it's a pretty comprehensive agreement. I think it's a fair agreement, and you all will have copies of it to take a look at yourselves.
So the 15th will be pretty much the golf.
That's it. Yeah.
Just golf. Yeah.
That'll be a 6 o'clock meeting?
6 o'clock. Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Yeah.
The 15th.
Was that a unanimous decision?
It was a unanimous vote. I'm sorry. Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? If not, then we'll go on with the agenda to the administrative officer's report.
I don't have anything. I thought that these gas people did a good presentation tonight. And if the board has any questions, I might be able to answer.
And thank you for your efforts in putting all this together.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, liaison reports. Beth.
Okay. I wasn't able to attend Human Services on Monday night. I had another commitment, but I did attend the Fire Commission meeting on January 23rd, and the board reviewed the current operating budget. And there's some issues with the radiant heat in the bay floor and the building's air unit, and they're working on that, I guess, with Tony. And engine 7 is back from repairs. The ladder truck committee has finally met. They had one meeting, so stay tuned. I don't know if you've all heard about the paint on the shutters, but it is beginning to peel. And apparently it's covered under warranty. So the new shutters have been ordered, and I guess the discussion is now will Newfield pay to repaint them? And
Right.
it's a warranty item, so
Right.
we should be okay, but that's now being discussed at a higher level than I am at, but anyway. The chief reported that the department continues to receive compliments about the 9/11 memorial. Still, people are very excited about that. The department hopes to host an EMT class at the firehouse, and they're also exploring hiring a grant writer because it's difficult for towns like Woodbridge to get grants. We compete with towns and cities all over the state, and they would like to look into doing a better job of that. So they're thinking about doing that. The 2 new thermal imaging cameras that we bought, I don't know when, but anyway, they've come in and they're using them both, and they're very excited about that. They've already used them several times. This is something that goes out all the time. They use it all the time on most calls. Let's see, calls in 2001 total 584. There's an increase in medical calls as well due to more motor vehicle accidents. I don't know why, but it's happening.
2011.
2011, sorry, yeah. I was rushing the whole year. I thought, well, you know, it's over. The annual Snowflake Dance will take place on Saturday, March 3rd at the Woodbridge Club, and tickets are now available, Tom? Yes, no? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yeah. Soon.
They need silent auction items, and this is the big fundraiser for the fire department, which they use to buy equipment and help us, so hopefully everyone can attend. And the next meeting has been changed to February 27th from February 20th because of school vacation. And that's it.
Susan?
Library Commission is not going to be meeting until next Monday, and I won't be there because we have 2 meetings that night, the tri-board meeting and the golf commission meeting. I have attended all of the golf
Yes.
commission meetings, and while Ed gave you a full report, I just want to say that this commission has worked their golf bags off getting this work done, and they're really to be commended for
They
a
should-
really
yeah.
solid effort. I mean, it has just been 100% attendance, 100% effort. One meeting that I went to started at 9 and ended at 3.
Mm.
So, A for effort, and I was there at all the interviews as well, so it's quite something.
Lawrence?
The Woodbridge Board of Education, the focus of the Woodbridge Board of Education was manifest in Dr. Stella's budget presentation last week, and it was an extraordinary presentation, I thought. And I would repeat what I said at the budget presentation, that it was approved unanimously by that Board of Education. That's been its focus. I thought I'd spend a minute going back to the Recreation Commission meeting and its discussion of the pesticide use. There's no argument, in my judgment anyway, that it's a very serious issue and worthy of this board's consideration, and the thoughtful, respectful discussion that was held here earlier this evening. The Recreation Commission engaged in a thoughtful and respectful discussion a week ago Monday as well, and the Schneiders were there to make their presentation, and Adam Parsons worked late that night to answer questions. To the point that Greg raised earlier this evening, Woodbridge does not have excess fields or the ability to rotate fields or rest fields. As Commissioner Bob Hill explained, the Commission turns down requests routinely for use because the fields are so tightly scheduled. They are very concerned that if we move into a pesticide-free or a chemical-free program, and we start, and I don't think anyone's concerned about losing a field, but if all of a sudden there is a crabgrass infestation, and the way Adam described it, crabgrass doesn't just go dormant in the winter; it dies, and then you wind up with mud, and then hard mud creates a impact on a player who falls on it, or it becomes unplayable in even moderately wet conditions. It's not about losing a field, but it's about unplayable fields. And if you have to reseed, and again, I'm just trying to characterize that discussion, but there are hundreds of Woodbridge children who may not have access to these fields. And the Recreation Commission is concerned with its programming. That's what it does. And so with that in mind, and with, again, a lengthy discussion, this middle ground was unanimously approved by that commission to try this program on half the athletic fields for a couple of years. The sense I got from the commissioners was that this would be a bold, positive step toward what we all agree is an important objective. But the commission was mindful of its responsibility to its programs and to the children in Woodbridge who use its fields. Frankly, I'm mindful of this board's responsibility to safeguard the town's assets in terms of these fields. And if there are wholesale failures because of crabgrass, because of grubs, and birds picking apart the turf to get the grubs, or however that plays out, I am respectful of the decision they made that night to ease into this with 2 fields for a couple of years, to give Adam a chance to work into it and to make sure we're not jeopardizing what is a limited resource in town. So anyway, just a few thoughts about that. That did dominate the meeting that night. They also finalized the operating budget, which came to the joint board meeting last week.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
The Conservation Commission's most recent meeting had the resolution that we saw. It was brought to us by Maria. Last night I went to QPOP. So QPOP, as I had mentioned, had actually picked up on this pesticide issue and asked us not to act so they could weigh in. QPOP also asked and passed a motion, and I don't have minutes because it was last night, but basically wanted to be an active participant in the country club bigger picture. So maybe the idea of inviting them was a great idea, and that'll achieve that. But they're meeting and having a good exchange there. The TPZ, TPZ's February 6th. There's a new home business in Woodbridge. I think it's an architect, 22 Pine Ridge Road. Michael Dow, who is the applicant to modify a previously approved sign for the new building, 1 Bradley Road, was declined. Previously had approved and then wanted to modify it, so that was declined. And TPZ definitely is underway with their discussion of the town plan, conservation and development. So the homework assignment by the chairman was to review the first 25 pages, so that's good they have that underway. Inland Wetlands on January 18th did approve an extension of the Woodbridge Village Associates permit. So, and lastly, Beecher Building Committee, which I'm on that committee, so just to give you a report, so we're having our tri-board meeting on the 13th, and we've been working really hard. So we had a really interesting last meeting where we had a complete energy audit done of everything that's operating in Beecher. It's really interesting. They took the month-by-month UI bills, they took the month-by-month heating bills, and they went through and put on a list every single fan, every single mechanical operating system, in extensive interviews with the people who run and maintain those systems. They tried to estimate how many hours they're running and came up with a cost of, literally what's utilizing the energy. So it's very interesting because you're able to see right down to, a fan level and what's sort of sucking the most energy. That's the approach we've been trying to take in that committee, where we're trying to identify how we can not just renovate that building, but make it much more efficient. We're addressing the envelope of the building, the curtain walls, the roof. So, our goal is to accomplish the renovations that need to occur, but do it in this phased approach. So, we can do it over a period of a number of years. So, you'll hear a lot more. I just wanted to give you some taste of what we've been working on, because the committee has been working really hard. That's it.
Okay, Tom?
I was unable to get to the Amity Board of Ed meeting this month.
Tom has had a little bit of an injury.
Yes. So I'll have an update overview of the past meeting at our next meeting.
Good. Okay. Anything else? We're going to be meeting again on next Wednesday, a week from tonight, and then on the 23rd for our budget presentation.
Well, we're going to be here on Monday.
We're going to be at Beecher School on Monday for the
it's at
tri-board, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
at
It's at Beecher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
Right.
The Woodbridge, the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission will be meeting here at 6 o'clock.
And then we'll go to Beecher.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
So, yeah, there's a tri-board meeting, it's 7 at the, or is it 6?
It's at 6.
It's at 6 at the school, Beecher Road School.
And then Wednesday here.
Is at 5.
So we're at 5, the Country Club of Wood Beach Commission.
Is it
Yeah,
5?
I wrote that down.
5,
5,
not 6.
5. The other meeting's at 6.
Okay.
All right, so with
I'm
that,
first.
we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We're all a little mixed up.
All in favor?
Oh, see, I have this wrong.
Aye.
I have
I
this
have
wrong.
one.